What's up, nerds? This is David, the sports and gamer nerd, rocking my official hoodie today. If you saw my unboxing video, you know what this is. But today we're going to talk about a subject that I've been waiting to talk about for a while, and that is, I've been asked this question a lot. I've been asked this question a whole lot. Why did I stop watching wrestling? Why did I stop watching WWE? Why did I stop watching AEW, New Japan, Ring of Honor, Impact, and everything in between? NWA, all that stuff. So let's get started. So one of the reasons, and I'm in my late 30s, so I go all the way back to WrestleMania 3, WrestleMania 4, that time period. My wrestling knowledge is vast, especially WWE and the old WCW and NWA. One of the reasons I stopped watching was just silly storylines. The storylines haven't been that great in the modern wrestling era compared to before. Not much imagination. In fact, they've repeated a lot of stuff. There's been authority storylines. The authority storyline has been going on now since the Austin era. Actually, before that, because if you remember correctly, it was Bret Hart versus Vince McMahon. That was kind of like the first sort of authority storyline that was going on. After that, it went to Austin and McMahon. And then that evolved somehow into Stephanie and Triple H versus Daniel Bryan and all the rest of that stuff. Another problem with modern day wrestling is there's no superstars. There's no Rock or Austin or Bret Harts or Hulk Hogan's or Ric Flairs or Stings or Goldbergs. Nobody's special anymore. It used to be, come see Hulk Hogan versus Earthquake in a steel cage on Saturday night. And now the commercial says, come see the superstars of the WWE. And I'm sorry, but no, if I don't know who's on the card, I'm not going to spend my money to buy a ticket and go see it, So there's no stars anymore. And the companies do a great job, especially WWE, unfortunately, of making you feel like the full-time guys are the undercard and the part-time guys are the superstars. Undertaker, before he retired, wrestled one night a year, WrestleMania. They always brought back the old guys, Goldberg, all those guys, Brock Lesnar's a part-timer. John Cena was a part-timer. And, excuse me, there's a ambulance outside. Anyway, okay, it's past. But yeah, the part-timers have been the stars of the company, and you're trained to believe that the full-time guys who are busting their butts, they're the mid-card. A part-time old guy in his 50s will come back and squash a guy who's working his butt off Bray Wyatt or Roman Reigns or something like that. And then, AEW, right? So AEW started out with a lot of promise. They're supposed to be sports-based presentation. And then they kind of devolved into WWE Light. I'm sorry, guys, but the Young Bucks look like ninth graders. I know it's going to piss off, some people, but the reality is they're not impressive. They're not scary. They don't look like tough guys. There's nothing about them that's believable. And even if there was, they undo everything with their being the elite, online, whatever it's called, video series. And I get it. It's a different day. It's a new day. I get all that. Shout out to the New Day for being in the new Gears of War. That's pretty cool. Shout out to Kofi for being really the first black WWE champion since The Rock, which is ridiculous that there's only been two. And that's another thing. As a black man who watched wrestling my whole life, I've never had enough black champions. World champions, not Intercontinental Ahmed Johnson. Okay, not U.S. title Bobby Lashley and the rest of you guys. That's great. But Vince McMahon, from one August 24th birthday guy to another, we need more black champions. It's 2020. How did you not have more black champions by now? It's embarrassing. Another issue with professional wrestling is kayfabe is dead. You don't believe in anything that the good guys are doing, and you don't think the bad guys are real bad guys. They look like and act like they're just playing them on TV. They really do. Back in the day, bad guys were evil, and they would stop at nothing to destroy the good guy, and the good guy had to get his revenge in a steel cage match or a lumberjack match or something that made sense. You know, like, I don't agree with everything that guys like Jim Cornette say, but, you know, I'm at the point now where I don't watch wrestling anymore. I listen to Jim Cornette podcasts. Shout out to Jim Cornette, you know, Brian Last and those guys. Shout out to the Solo Monster for doing his reviews. You know, really appreciate that. Shout out to OSW Review for taking me old school and taking me back to when wrestling was awesome, and also doing it in an entertaining way. You know, shout out to Wrestling Bios for just, you know, being a clean channel. It's a great historic account of what happened in the past. Same thing with Wrestling with Regret. That's where I get my wrestling now, guys. It's all about, you know, those guys, because watching it is so hard to do. Sitting through 3-hour Raws and all the goofiness of AEW, you know, it's, I was really excited about AEW. I was really excited about Tony Khan having an alternative to WWE finally, getting that sports-based presentation, but, you know, they just let me down. And, you know, the rest of the organizations are kind of far behind. The New Japans and, New Japan's always had great in-ring. You know, great in-ring matches. The Japanese strong style has always been entertaining. But honestly, I just always needed more storyline as an American wrestling fan. I love the in-ring. Okay, I grew up a Bret Hart fan. So I love the in-ring. And before he went crazy, you know, that great other technical wrestler from Canada, whose name I won't say out of respect, he's passed away now. But I love technical wrestling. It's realistic. Put a little bit of strong style on it. It's not just rest holds. It's psychology. It's William Regal. You know, it's the old Chris Jericho, the Lionheart. You know, it's guys like that. Dean Malenko, guys, Rey Mysterio, you know, guys putting on real matches. Rest in peace, Owen Hart, guys like that. That was wrestling, man. Ric Flair, Arn Anderson, you know, just some of the great in-ring storytellers. And I know I'm missing a lot of people. Just like the great in-ring storytellers that we had over the years, guys working their butt off, like Ravishing Rick Rude. You know, just guys like that. Mr. Perfect, Kurt Hennig, good grief. One of the absolute greatest of all time in that ring. You know, we needed more of that. What we really needed here in America, and it would have been impressive, is New Japan Hulk Hogan. Because that Hulk Hogan knows how to wrestle. And I know you hardcore wrestling fans know what I'm talking about. New Japan Hulk Hogan, that was a wrestler. He wasn't just a poser. If you want to find out if Hulk Hogan could wrestle, look at New Japan Hulk Hogan, okay? Macho Man Randy Savage, pound for pound, the greatest wrestler of all time. When you look at just impact and in-ring ability and the ability to do an interview and speak, how memorable they were, how iconic they were, how much money they drew, how popular they were. Macho Man Randy Savage, pound for pound, from an all-around standpoint, probably the greatest of all time. He's not my favorite wrestler ever, but just being unbiased, Macho Man Randy Savage is probably the greatest of all time. You can slice it, you can dice it. Say Hogan drew a little bit more money. You can say Ric Flair was maybe slightly better charisma-wise. You can say Bret Hart was a slightly better technical wrestler. But just all around standpoint, it's really hard to beat the Macho Man Randy Savage. Oh, yeah. But all seriousness, guys, another thing that professional wrestlers really need to do, and, I know Andrew Yang is on this, in the political front. I know Zelina Vega just left the company and she talked about it. But our wrestlers, our heroes, the industry has used and abused them for decades. And they do need a union. They need to be able to protect themselves. It's just a matter of them doing it. They'll probably never do it because the top guys are taken care of so well by the companies. And it's sad, really. When you think about other sports and how they take care of their players, right? You got sports athletes and actors. Which one are wrestlers? Are they athletes? Are they actors? Are they both? Well, guess what? Sports athletes and actors both have unions. And wrestlers who are kind of like one or the other or both at the same time don't have a union. And that's crazy. We need to take care of our guys. But going forward, I know data and feedback and fan opinion is something that a lot of wrestling companies really appreciate. So as a hardcore, I'm part of the, I dropped off when the ratings were like below, 3 million. I'm one of the hardcore fans of WWE, AEW, of professional wrestling. And I have stopped watching. I have no interest in watching anymore. So learn something from this video. Care about your fans. Okay? Care about your fans. Because eventually, those TV stations, they give you companies, the big contracts, are going to look at these ratings, and guess what? That money's going to dry up, and it's going to be over. So don't take your fans for granted. Give them what they want. Real storylines, real good guys, real bad guys, real conflict, and let's settle it in a squared circle. I loved professional wrestling, but for me, it's over. So that's it. That's why I stopped watching. I am David, the sports and gamer nerd, and this has been why I stopped watching pro wrestling. I love you guys, and I appreciate the support for my channel. Please go ahead and subscribe, like, and share, and buy my merchandise. It's in my store. Go to the description on my YouTube channel, and it can be yours. Also, check me out on Twitter and Instagram. But this video is long enough. I will sign off now. Love you guys. Peace.